This is TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And the State of the Saints podcast is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Over 2 million men worldwide choose Manscaped for all their below-the-waist needs. For those that love the Lawnmower 3.0, well, I got news for you. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The new trimmer even allows you to customize your trim all through additional guards lengths, sizes 1 through 4. And looks-wise, it's sleek with a two-tone matte and gloss finish, even features a hot foil stamp, black chrome Manscaped logo. Show your mower off loud and proud. Go to manscaped.com, use the promo code State of Saints, and you will save 20% off of the Lawnmower 4.0 as well as other Manscaped items. That's manscaped.com. Man, I love that intro. What's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And this is the podcast where we talk New Orleans Saints. And on this edition, we have some special guests with us here on the State of the Saints podcast. And unless you're living under a rock, you know who these two individuals are. They are very influential on social media. They are on the control of the pulse of Saints Twitter. They're so on the pulse that they actually named their podcast the Saints Twitter Podcast. I'm referring to Adam and Ryan of the Saints Twitter Podcast. Fellas, how y'all doing?
What's up, baby? Much love.
What's going on, man? Hashtag
that
no
intro.
Hey, hashtag no introduction needed.
None. We heard.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, thank y'all so much for being here. Really do appreciate it, man. And thank y'all for everything that you do, man. I mean, you all definitely don't hold anything back. You're definitely strong about your opinions, very passionate about the New Orleans Saints. But for those that may not have been formally introduced to you all, tell us a little bit about the Saints Twitter podcast. Adam, I'll actually start with you. And Ryan, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, man. The hashtag Saints Twitter podcast is something that Ryan and I just have created organically. We just, by chance, decided to just record an episode 2 summers ago with Tony Pauline of Pro Football Network. Mm-hmm. We were going to do like kind of like a mini series, right? We were going to do like a couple episodes and that was it. And then we did try to do a couple, and social media and Twitter was asking for more episodes, and so we kept at it. I've been podcasting for 5+ years now. I started the Saints Talk podcast with Nick Underhill, where that was a podcast where it gave you a beat reporter and like the super fan combined in one podcast. Right. We were the first people to also do Locked On Saints way back when that was just starting off. Wow. So like I've done it all, but doing this with Ryan, I can safely say there's nothing been more enjoyable than the connection that me and Ryan have had. Me and Ryan known each other for 10+ years now. So when we talk and when we're talking about the Saints or just talking about things in general, it's just a conversation that just happened to be recorded and we put on the internet. That's really what it's about.
Man, awesome, man. Awesome. Ryan, so what got you involved in just doing podcasts, and what made you fall in love with the Saints?
Oh, I mean, those are two big different questions as far as the Saints. I mean, you know what it is, man. I mean, are you in New Orleans? You from New Orleans?
Yeah, man. I'm born and raised in New Orleans. I was raised in the Ninth Ward.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Graduated from George Washington Carver High School. Shouts out to them Rams out there.
All right.
But I don't live in New Orleans anymore. I'm a radio broadcaster out here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Okay.
Been
Okay.
my
Cool.
whole life, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, but you know how
Yeah,
it
but
is, man.
what about
You
you?
grow
Are
up
you
in,
from? Yeah,
yeah, I'm born and raised in New Orleans, man. You know how it is. If you grow up
yeah,
there, man, like the Saints just part of your DNA. Like
right.
it just happens to you. So, man, that's just basically what happened to me. I've been a Saints fan earlier as I can remember. Is like those early '90s, Dome Patrol teams.
Yeah,
'91 specifically.
yeah.
That really just got me to be a Saints fan. I've been one ever since.
Right.
And as far as podcasting goes, just like Adam said, man, like he was already doing it. I always
Mhm.
wanted to kind of dip my toe in it.
Right.
But I just never, you know how it is with podcasts. You always say, "Oh, I'm gonna start," but you never do it.
Right.
But and then Adam brought it up one day. He was like, "Man, like let's interview Tony Pauline." I'm like, "Let's
Mm,
do it," And
right.
then once I dip my, once you know how it is, once you dip your toe in it, it's like this ain't bad. You're just sitting
Yeah.
there, you talking football,
Right.
and let's just see where it goes from here. That's why I try to tell people that ask me, like, "Man, I'm thinking about starting a podcast." I'm like, "Just do it, man. Like,
Yeah.
don't overthink it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about taking notes and how you're going to sound. Your first podcast is always going to be your worst podcast. Just go
Absolutely.
ahead, get a mic, get a headphone set, get Zoom or whatever you want to use. Go ahead, just record it, get it out the way. Don't
Yeah.
worry about how many people are listening. Just
Right.
keep on doing it.
Right. Right. I mean, I definitely agree with you on that. I started the podcast off, and my podcast happened was a couple years ago, back in 2018. It
Mm.
started when I was upset after a week 1 loss, the Saints versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't know if y'all remember when Ryan Fitzpatrick
Mhm.
threw about
We was
400
at the
yards.
game.
But yeah, man, I was so upset, at that game, man. And man, I lived at the time around the corner from the radio station I work at, WLGI, and I just used to go over there and just record myself. And I remember playing it back, and I was like, you know what, man, I think I can make this an everyday thing. I'm passionate about the team. I love broadcasting. So, I mean, the rest is history, man. So I definitely agree with you. And Ryan, thank you for that, man, because there's a lot of people that hit me up as well, ask me about podcasting and what they need to do is start. I mean, the best thing you can do is actually start, and
Yeah.
and actually be, have an opportunity to like sit down and really critique yourself, man, and really just evaluate and see the things that you can actually do better. So I appreciate that. But let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints. This is at the recording of this podcast. It's the second day of minicamp, and there's a lot of storylines. This has been one of the most exciting off seasons in New Orleans Saints history, in my opinion. I mean, I've been following the team for a long time. I go back to those Dome Patrol days, sitting on my grandmother's floor back in New Orleans. But this has been really exciting, man. I mean, this has been very unconventional. The Saints have been really aggressive. Ryan, I'll start with you with this question. What do you think about the Saints off season? What are your thoughts so far about the moves that they made and everything up to this point?
Whew, man. The off season started off like as dark as you could possibly imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
first off, you end the season 9-8, which was, fine. I mean,
Right.
I think going into last season, we were fine with 9-8. Then
Yeah.
Sean Payton retires.
Mm.
Okay, so you're one of the best top 3 coaches in the league leaves your team. There's a long protracted hiring
Mm.
experience going on, and they bring in DA. We're like, okay, finally fill that out. And then they go after Deshaun Watson, and it's like, ugh, I mean, here we go. Like it's like here we go. We just
Right.
knew when those tweets started coming in, you just knew it. It was like Saints just got it. They can't sit still. They got to do something. It's like, oh, and
Yeah.
me and Adam, we've talked ad nauseum about that on our podcast. We
Right.
were not big. We were not fans at all of bringing him in. We took a lot of
Yeah.
heat for it. But
You're
look,
talking.
like,
You're referring to Deshaun Watson, right? I just
yes,
want
Deshaun
to.
Watson.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Deshaun Watson. Yes, I'm sorry.
All right.
But yeah, we took a lot of heat for it. But we were ready to, rename the podcast.
Wow.
If he would have just become a Saints, because I mean, it was just that bad, man.
Hmm.
It just wasn't somebody we wanted on the team. We wanted to root for as the
Right.
face of the franchise.
Right.
But that ended up, we went to Cleveland. Then the Saints were kind of, stuck there with cap space and wasn't really doing much. And for a while it was looking like, man, what are the Saints going to do? But then
Right.
they made the big trade with the Eagles. They had a solid drafting Chris Olave, Trevor
Hmm.
Penning.
Right.
Then after that, they made some signings. They signed, Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry.
What's
And
was a
some,
shot?
yeah. Whew, man, like that was really a shot in the arm. So, coming to this point, it's like,
Right.
okay, like the Saints are looking good. It was a long off season. It took a while to really get us to buy in and really see the vision. But at this point, we see what they're trying to do. They look like a team that believes that they can really compete and get into the playoffs and kind of see what happens. So
Right.
I'm with it. Like I love it. I love it. I want to see where they go with it. But it was an interesting offseason to
Yeah.
say the least, though, bro.
Yeah. Definitely. Adam, I'd like to get your perspective on this. As far as the off season, and also I want to add this question here. You've seen some very unconventional acquisitions, so it's things that we weren't normally used to as Saints fans, especially when it comes to the Saints going after LSU players. I'm pretty sure you all have seen this, and man, like I said, you all have the pulse on Saints Twitter. There was a lot of uproar about the lack of LSU Tigers. That the Saints tried to acquire, rather it's through the draft or free agency. You got Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu, arguably two of the best LSU Tigers of all time. So, what are your thoughts about the Saints getting those two guys? Do you think Sean Payton has something to do with those guys, the LSU Tigers, not being available to the team, and just overall the offseason? Your thoughts, Adam?
I'll start with the Sean Payton thing first. I think Sean Payton, he has an ego. We all know this, but at the end of the day, if you're a good player, like it didn't matter where you played. If he felt that they could help the team, they would be on the team. The team wanted to trade up for Justin Jefferson in the draft the year that they drafted Cesar Ruiz. They weren't able to do it.
Right.
So I don't think the LSU thing. I do think that with Dennis Allen adding to LSU players, especially those of the ilk of a Honey Badger and Jarvis Landry, maybe not purposely, but it for sure adds additional goodwill to the fan base who are Saints fans and LSU fans. Because there are some Saints fans who don't care about LSU, and it's vice versa, right? But but that segment of fans that are both diehard LSU fans and Saints fans, even not purposely, that gives you goodwill. And let's be honest about the situation. This is DA is a complete unknown, right? In terms of a head coach in his second stint, he didn't have a good year, or he didn't have a good head coaching stint in Oakland. And now he's older and he may have time to succeed now as a Saints head coach. He's definitely in a better situation team wise. For the offseason, I'll give the Saints I'll give them credit, because Ryan and I have known to be critical at times. If you ask some people, sometimes too critical, but we just call it like we see it. What I appreciate that the team was able to do was that they showed us a vision and what they see themselves as. So they see themselves as a contender in the NFC. You get into the playoffs, and then when you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Right. But I also think that at least one thing that I'm happy that they addressed was the lack of skill position players on the team. Right? They went out. They went out and got Chris Olave. They saw the wide receivers that the team had been putting out their season the last couple of seasons wasn't going to cut it. So them acknowledging that to me was crucial. But I also think like we got to give a little credit, and it sounds weird to say because I know that they have the Saints first round pick next year, but we got to give a little credit to the Eagles, right? Because if the Eagles don't call the Saints and call Mickey Loomis, because they were the team that brought up the trade to the Saints, it wasn't vice versa. If they don't call the Saints, maybe the Saints are in the draft, they're still picking at 18, and they're not able to trade up and get a wide receiver. So that Eagles trade, and we'll see how it plays out, especially with that future first and a future second round pick in 2024. But that Eagles trade may have completely changed the trajectory for the offseason for the team.
I definitely respect aggression. I mean, it's just so unconventional, though, Adam. I mean, Eric, I mentioned this, and I had a privilege to interview the Cajun Cannon, Bobby Abel, last week, and I talked to him a little bit about how the New Orleans Saints normally would do their offseason. It's basically nip and tuck. You kind of know what direction they're gonna go in, and a lot of the positions, were basically solidified. Of course, you had like a few positions that need to be filled, but pretty much knew the type of direction they was going to go in. There was this form of aggression. I mean, I haven't been used to seeing. If you was to tell me at the beginning of this offseason, at this particular time, we would have Tyrann Mathieu, Jarvis Landry, and Chris Olave, along with Michael Thomas on the same team, I would say, man, you out your mind. And but I'm glad that it happened, and I'm glad to see that. That Dennis Allen, along with Kyle Harley, Mickey Loomis, are being as aggressive as they are, man, because it tells us as fans who probably at the beginning also thought, oh, this is going to be a rebuild, especially since Sean Payton is there. But this is a team now, as it stands today, looks like a team that wants to go for broke and try to win it all. So I have an appreciation for that. But many came away, and the hottest story, in my opinion, would be the status of Michael Thomas. Thomas really hasn't played football in almost 2 seasons, if you want to be honest. I mean, this guy has been, in and out of the lineup back in 2020, 2021. He didn't play at all. He's almost close to being there. I'd like to get you all's opinion. And Adam, I'll start with you on this one. Michael Thomas and his status. He was on the sideline day one of training camp. He was available, but he didn't do anything. He's supposed to be available for training camp. Your thoughts on Michael Thomas, and do you think Michael Thomas will be the Michael Thomas of old, or will you see a little bit of a setback due to the fact that he hasn't played at a high level since he won Offensive Player of the Year back in 2019?
So before I'll answer the Michael Thomas piece, I want to just go back really quick and just touch on the aggression thing.
Oh yeah,
I think that the Saints have always been aggressive, and I think the thing with aggression is that when the team is aggressive and it works out, everyone applauds it. When the team is aggressive and it doesn't work out, it gets booed and criticized. Perfect example, 2018, in that draft, they were aggressive and traded up for Marcus Davenport. Let's fast forward 4 years later, like this man got a shoulder injury and he had like half some of his finger amputated. Like
right.
So and then we could even stay with this, the beginning of this all season, whether we can talk about the morality of them doing it, but they were willing to trade 3 first-round picks, probably Cesar Ruiz, and potentially like CD Deuce to get a Deshaun Watson. Like the team doesn't lack aggression. Like I think that's just in the DNA, and that's always going to be in their DNA with Mickey Loomis at the helm. I also think it helps that they feel like they have a team, especially defensively, that can compete, because then you're in a weaker division in the NFC. You think you can make noise. So I think the team is always going to have some form of aggression in them. It's just if that aggression works or not. The Michael Thomas thing to me is one of the
hold on, Adam. Let me say this real quick. Let me just go back and try to like clarify what I'm saying. I understand about the Marcus Davenport stance that you had, which is a good point. But I guess I'm looking at it from a standpoint of identifiable players that we have seen play at a high level. The Saints have aggressively pursued and actually got them. Like, for example, a couple years ago, before Ndamukong Suh signed with the Rams, the Saints interviewed him to possibly sign with them before he went to the Rams. The year after, Jadeveon Clowney was aggressively pursued by the New Orleans Saints. Of course, they tried to do this whole NBA basketball deal, and he ended up going to the Browns. The Tennessee Titans instead of the Saints. So I guess what I'm saying is identifiable players more so than guys that have unlimited potential like a Davenport or a guy that, you know what I'm saying, that has a certain skill set like a Cesar Ruiz. I guess I'm looking at it from that standpoint when it comes to aggressive more so than, looking at what they're giving up for a guy really, unless you like really knee deep in college football, really would know about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I like they've been wined and dined by potential free agents in the past, and then just kind of got stuck with the bill as they free agent signed. Ndamukong Suh, Jadeveon Clowney. The list goes
right.
on and on and on. So yeah. To that point, I hear what you're saying.
All right.
For Michael Thomas, like, to me, he's probably the most crucial piece of the offense, besides us not knowing what we as fans are getting in Pete Carmichael as an offensive play caller. Like, he's missed essentially, like you said, 2 whole seasons of football. Do I think he's going to be Mike Thomas of old? I don't, and I don't think it would be potentially because of him, like the delay or how long he hasn't played. I just think those 2 surgeries on that ankle, like the surgeries that he had are like super extensive surgeries. And with a player like him and the way he won was explosive cuts, like sharp cuts, like that was his bread and butter. If he's not able to do that to the level that he was able to, he's not going to be the same player. Now, if he's 80 to like 85% of what he was with Olave and with Jarvis Landry, you still can cook with that. But like, I think it's very, I would say, scary to think that just Mike Thomas is going to be out there week 1, against the Falcons. It just probably won't happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see it. I mean, I've talked with orthopedic surgeon Dr. Jesse Morrison, and he talked a little bit about some of the rehabilitation that Michael Thomas would endure. And he also talked a little bit about that particular time where we thought that he was getting surgery in the offseason, but he didn't. And he tried to rehab it. And he said by doing so, instead of getting surgery and trying to rehab it, it could set him up for possible arthritis. I mean, the Saints weren't very transparent when it comes to, like, his whole prognosis. So all we have is speculation. I hope that's not the case, but he basically, long story short, said it's going to be it's going to be a tough road for him to get back to where he needs to be. And I did that interview, had to be almost a year ago. So, I mean, the fact that Michael Thomas wasn't here, I mean, he described what Michael Thomas would possibly be going through and him not being there to a T. But Ryan, your thoughts on Michael Thomas, and do you feel that he will be close to 100%, or will he be the Michael Thomas of old going into the 2022 season?
I mean, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I just don't see it, man. Like, I hope he does, but it is just like, when you just look at the whole thing, like, look at the thing from when it started, week 1 of the 2020 season, before we even knew what, I mean, it's like, it's been the dark road, dude. Like, I don't know what happened to his ankle, but like, it's almost 2 years later, bro. And he's still just running straight lines, man. Like, running straight lines on the field. It's like, man, it's scary, bro. And I think like like you talked to the orthopedic surgeon, like that. This is something that's going to linger for a while. I don't know if he'll ever be back to what he was. I think he's so talented. He has such great hands. He's smart. He understands routes so well. I think he will again be a productive receiver. But to be what he was, man, I think that's kind of asking a lot from him. But I just want to, like, for me to have any opinion, I gotta see the dude. Like,
Right.
Like this week was my first time seeing like a little picture of him, bro. I was like, oh, look at Mike Thomas. Like, he exists. He had the 13 jersey on and everything. I'm like, he exists. I just need to see him, man. Like, but if you can just listen to the team, listen to DA and all that, they're not like super confident, like, oh yeah, Mike Thomas is gonna be back. Da, da, da. No, they're not talking like that. They're talking like they're waiting to see, just like we are. They don't know.
Yeah.
Mike Thomas doesn't know. So for us to have any kind of definitive, I see Saints fans that be like, oh, we're gonna have Mike Thomas back. I'm like, why are you saying that?
Right.
Why are you saying Mike Thomas is gonna be? We don't know. We don't know. So we just gotta wait and see and see how it works out at the end of the day. Because I hope he does come back, man. Because if he, like Adam said, if he's like 90% of what he was, man, with the additions that they added, man, that's a good wide receiver. But I think bringing in Jarvis Landry, I think they kind of understood that they need a guy, kind of in that Mike. Not saying Landry is Mike Thomas, but kind of in that ilk and that skill set. And thankfully, it's looking like Jarvis Landry is healthy and he's been catching everything in camp from what I hear. So even if Mike Thomas needs a little more time, they got a dog in the building that could kind of do similar things.
Right. Well, guys, this is what I felt a long time ago. I think the Saints should have did this a long time ago. I don't know if you all seen the movie The Temptations, but when David Ruffin came along and they had that number one single, My Girl, and it started to go to his head. He wanted the spotlight on him. He wanted to show up late. All these different things. All of a sudden they had to let him know, okay, man, we got Dennis Edwards over here. You know what I'm saying? He can say just as good as you. I think sometimes star receivers need to see some dogs in the room. I was on the sidelines looking at a Lil Jordan, looking at a Callaway, looking, at a Kevin White. I mean, honestly, man, your spot is solidified versus you standing on the sidelines and seeing Jarvis Landry with one-handed catches and a dog like Chris Olave that can stretch the field and run routes, and have the potential to be a number one receiver. Tell me that ain't the type of motivation you need in order to see that guy on the field. And even if he doesn't, for a fact that you can have production. So I think that this was a long time coming. You need somebody that's going to push your stars. Iron sharpens iron. So I just think that even if, like you said, if it does not work out, still you have somebody that can come in and that can be as productive as a Michael Thomas could be. I mean, Jarvis Landry, I know he kind of flew under the radar from, a lot of NFL circles because of Odell Beckham playing alongside him. But if you're looking at it, I mean, if you peel it back and just take a look, Jarvis Landry has been more productive than Odell Beckham. I think a lot of people overshadowed, Jarvis Landry gets overshadowed because Odell Beckham with the one-handed catch and all the pregame theatrics and him playing in New York for all those years. But Jarvis Landry has been just as productive, and he has the capability of being a guy that can be a dog and help your team make the playoffs just as much as Michael Thomas can. So I think that this has been a long time coming. But I do want to go ahead.
Let me say, I think, to just show both sides of it, just in regards to the whole Michael Thomas situation, like I think a big thing that's now to some degree fixed or resolved is when that whole thing happened with the fight with CD, all that, got suspended that one game. There was a lack of trust that Mike Thomas had towards the organization because what happened was he injured himself in week one. if we go back to 2020, injured himself week 1. The ankle's bad.
Right.
They essentially talk Mike into not getting surgery. They don't shut him down because 1, they're contending, potential a Super Bowl contender. 2, Drew's last year. So probably to
Right.
Mike's detriment, he goes back out. He plays after he got his ankle injured, went out and played, injured the ankle worse, and then all this stuff happened. So I think the fact that trust that may have been fractured, and some of it may be because Sean Payton stepped down and he's not there anymore. So maybe Mike Tomlin's like, oof, good to go now. But now that that's been resolved, because that was a big thing in the building, period.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. And that now, because when any team, I'm not comparing it to the whole Delvin Breaux situation, but it maybe not be to the severity of Delvin Breaux situation, but it was kind of similar, right? Because if you having your star player and you say, maybe just hold off on this surgery, you got to get you out there. We trying to win the football. Every team does it. And the Saints have been a lot better about doing things like that, especially after that Delvin Breaux situation happened. They've been one of the more conservative teams in terms of when players get injured. But Drew's last year, that was when Emmanuel Sanders was on the team. It was supposed to be that year. And so when you feel like the team kind of did you wrong, that creates a whole bunch of mistrust. So that's kind of removed. So if he's in good spirits, all right, now it's all about physical, getting back, playing, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you got to have a level of trust between organization and player. And if you don't feel like the organization is doing things in your best interest, you definitely got to look out for yourself. I mean, because at the end of the day, if you don't give that same type of production, those 149 catches and 1,700 yards, they're going to replace you with someone else. And, I mean, unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. Yeah,
and look, I mean, we had Delvin Breaux on our podcast, probably 2 years ago. It was a while back.
Right.
But he was still heated about it, man. You could hear the emotion in his voice talking about how Sean Payton treated him. When he was going through he had the fracture in his leg, and they had him out there in training camp, man, running, being a cornerback against routes, in training camp with a broken leg, man.
I'm not laughing at that, but how ridiculous is that?
Think about how ridiculous is that as a player like Delvin Breaux, who was playing for pennies at that point because he was just trying to get a shot. I mean, that was demoralizing to him, man. And
you had your head coach calling you soft and a pussy,
and the coach calling you soft. He said on the podcast, he was ready to fight. He was ready to throw hands with Sean Payton. And you know how Sean Payton is, bro. Sean Payton, he could cut you to the core where you want to fight, man. Just the way he talks, it's just the type of guy he is. He's passionate. You know what I'm saying? So I could see, a rift between him and Michael Thomas happening, and him leaving. DA said he went out to visit Michael Thomas this off season, just kind of mend fences or whatever, and just get to know him. So I think that could go a long way. As far as motivation, Michael Thomas, he was the most self-motivated dude. I mean, you can look at his tweets, bro. He dude, he's gonna find motivation. You know what I'm saying? He wants to be out there more than anybody. So I'm not really worried about that. I just hope, if it takes time for him to get healthy, let him get healthy, man. He doesn't have to be out there week 1. Yeah, they're gonna tweet about it. Saints fans are gonna groan about it. The news media are gonna talk about it. But just let him get that thing right, and he's under contract. He ain't going nowhere. Let him get right, man. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel that way, and I mean, you have opportunity now because, like you both alluded to about the special players that they added in Landry and Olave. So it's not so much about him having to be rushed back because I mean you have two guys that can be some dogs. And also, you got some guys that's been around for a while that's familiar with the offensive scheme that can kind of, help along the way until Mike gets back to where he is if he's not ready at the beginning of the season. But well, guys, we are interactive here on the State of the Saints podcast, so we have a lot of people chiming in. Want to get your take on some of these questions and comments. Let me go with a couple of these donations. I have to acknowledge these guys. Smallville, thank you very much for $2. Says, what's up with Bobby Bear? He hates Jameis Winston. Now, guys, I think that you all can kind of understand this. As podcasters, as guys that cover the Saints, there are times I'm pretty sure where you have to be critical about a guy that's considered a fan favorite. And a lot of people may think that you're hating. Now, do y'all think, like, just based on Bobby Bear, knowing, you know what I'm saying, his stance and how he is on WWL, do you think that he is a hater of Jameis Winston, or do you think that he is just going by what he sees? And I also want to just get y'all perspective on some of the encounters that you may have, had when it comes to fans may not liking some of the things that you think about a fan favorite of the Saints. Adam, I'll start with you.
Ryan. Oh, you gonna start with me?
Okay.
It's fine. No, I'll start. I'll say this though. Let's be real when it comes to Jameis. He is by far the most polarizing player on the team. And Ryan and I have talked about it at nauseum in that Saints Twitter, like there's a small section of Saints Twitter where they're either super pro Jameis and they're like Jameis stands, and then it's people that just like hate Jameis. Like me and Ryan like falls like in the middle. Man. And he played pretty decent last year, not great, played pretty decent considering the situation in terms of the offensive line, considering the weapons that he had. But I will say though, like there are some players that we talked about on the podcast from time to time that people just are stands for, and they just can't let it go. Do I think Bobby like hates Jameis though? No, like, but I also get it, man. Like Jameis, like only quarterback to throw like 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. I know that was like an outlier season, but Jameis his accuracy is decent at best, especially in the intermediate range, and he's a gunslinger. And so he will throw some terrible passes at times. So it's a slippery slope.
All right.
No, I agree with Adam. And look, bro, like I don't know where these people come from. There's just like there's like Jameis accounts out there. It's weird, bro, out there that just
it's like a cult.
It's like a cult, man. Like you can't mention like if Jameis not MVP, then like what's the problem? It's like what are you talking about, man? And look, you can go listen to our podcast. I was saying from the beginning this offseason, like we need to bring Jameis back. It just makes the most sense. But he's had well, I don't know how many games he started, but probably over 100 games at this point.
Yeah.
He's been in the league a long time. We kind of know what he is as a talent. As far as production, we'll see. But we know what he is. He's a gunslinger, has a good arm. He's smart. He understands, offense. He can read defenses. He can put the ball in the right place. He's exceptionally talented in throwing the deep ball. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to work with there. The Around the League podcast for NFL.com, they were doing the Dalton Scale podcast this week.
Right.
And the Dalton Scale is kind of like the prime meridian of quarterbacks, where it's kind of like QB purgatory. Like, if you have somebody on the right side of the Dalton Scale, you're good to go. You got a franchise quarterback. You good. Got somebody on the left side, that means you need to find another quarterback. And then there's the Dalton, that middle line. Greg Rosenthal, who we had on our podcast, he feels like Jameis is the Dalton Scale. He's that prime meridian, where it's just purgatory. You're good with them, you could win with them, but at the same time, you looking over there, you looking on the other side of the building, like I could do a little better. And the Saints have shown that they wanted to get Deshaun Watson. Right. They were looking at drafting Kenny Pickett or some of the other quarterbacks in the draft. But at the end of the day, they were like,
Right.
we're fine with Jameis. And I think that's where he
Right.
is. When you look at the money he's being paid well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's got a nice contract, but it's not upper level QB contract. So he's right there in the middle. He's a solid starting quarterback. And we'll see, you know what I'm saying, with the weapons around him. We'll see with the coaching. You kind of hope that they take the handcuffs off a little bit compared to what they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you do want to like cuff them a little bit because you don't want them to go crazy. So it's just like an interesting balance that Jameis is going to have to strike. It's very fascinating to me. But all things considered, so far this offseason, man, he's looked sharp from what I've seen in minicamp and OTAs. He's still rehabbing. He's not far from 100% yet, still limping around and stuff like that. But, he's taking it really seriously. He's trying to understand his footwork. He's the first one in, last one out, doing everything you need to be in. Look, the great thing is, he's not competing this year. You know what I'm saying? He's the starter. And he doesn't have to worry about Taysom Hill, nothing like that. So he's getting all the reps he needs. He's coaching up the guys, the young kids, and all that stuff. So I think that's going to go a long way. He started in this league a long time. I don't think there's nothing to worry about, bro. So surrounding him with talent and giving him the best, putting him in the best position to succeed was real important for this team. And I think that's going to pay dividends, but we just don't know, bro. Like Adam pointed out, like this Pete Carmichael situation, that's one to watch. Coach him up, like
cue the X-Files music, bro. Don't know, bro. I just want to say in regards to the list that I didn't listen to the episode, but the list that they came up with, it is asinine that Tua is a spot above Jameis. Asinine.
Wow.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow.
I don't know if he's above him or not. I can't remember.
He was. He there. Tua was 17. Jameis was 18.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, I think a lot of the young guys, they kind of like, look, we don't know what the young guys are, so they couldn't really decide on them.
We know what Tua is.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like we know what Tua is, bro. We know what he is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm one of those people that feel like organization matters, coaching matters when it comes to like players. I just think that sometimes, and I say this quite often here on the podcast, I just think that football is one of those sports where it's like it really does not give a player an opportunity to develop, or they don't really take into account the organization. It's almost like, for example, Matthew Stafford. Like when he got traded to the Rams, everybody just thought, well, he ain't do nothing with the Rams. I mean, nothing with the Lions. So what's he gonna do with the Rams? And then all of a sudden, but he made some clutch passes, you know what I'm saying, in that playoffs that helped them get to where they were. So it's like, I feel like organization matters. Why are you not taking into account the Lions are a terrible organization? Like you had two of arguably the greatest players of all time in Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders, and you couldn't do nothing with that. Like I just feel like when it comes to players, sometimes they can overcome their situations, right? They can be good to a point where they go somewhere and the team starts to get better. But I think it's a combination of organization and what they're willing to do to help them. Some people will go back to Tampa, but there's no way in the world that Tampa would stay with when they had and acquired Tom Brady. Like they had to make some things work in order for Tom Brady to come in. So I just think that with the New Orleans Saints, they're a well-coached team, a well-structured organization, and I think that people have to take that into account. Now, it's up to Jameis, and I also said this. All of this talent that they acquired in the offseason is put up a shut-up time, because if you don't perform with this type of talent, you're not putting up the numbers that are like top 10, top 5 even, then maybe the Saints will be going in another direction. So it is put up a shut up time, but I do feel like organizations and where you go and how organizations approach you as far as your development, I think that matters. And sometimes I just feel like when it comes to Jameis, he was like, even at Florida State, he was the guy. Tampa, he was the first overall pick. And when a first overall pick comes through, they expect for you to save the organization. You are the organizational savior. So it's not like they're going to try to do certain things. They're going to say, okay, man, you're the guy. Go out there and win us a championship. And sometimes the things that are considered your shortcomings, teams don't really pay that much attention to because they're just so happy to have you. And I just think that it's not that with the Saints. And I'm just hoping, that all this stuff comes together for Jameis. But I don't know, man. But as far as like Bobby Bell, like the beginning of the statement, I don't think that he's biased. I just think that he's a truth teller.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes people just don't like the truth. I mean, that's just what it is. Like everybody wants you to feel the way they do, but sorry, that just doesn't happen in the real world. Hoodie Jew, thank you very much for the 499. Says 133 of y'all here and 37 likes. Come on, y'all, smash the like button. Hoodie Jew, thank you so much, man. And shouts out to you, man, doing your podcast and everything that you're doing over there. Go ahead and hit the like button, man, and also make sure that y'all subscribe to Saints Twitter podcast that's available right now, man. Y'all make sure that y'all support the Saints Twitter podcast. Adam and Ryan do a really good job there breaking down the New Orleans Saints. And Smallville, thank you very much for the $5. Says the first was wrong about everything he said, but last year Bobby had folks thinking that Taysom Hill was running away with the quarterback number one job. Hey man, you gotta.
I got a theory. I got a theory about that, but man, I'll say
what you look, man. Look, we speak freely here on the stage. Like, say whatever you want, man. Like whatever you feel is what you feel.
I wanted to get back to your Matthew Stafford point because Ryan and I had an episode we recorded when this is before he got traded to the Rams. Is when he kind of went to Detroit and they kind of both agreed that they were going to trade Matthew Stafford. And we recorded a podcast episode of if the Saints should re-sign Jameis and have him be quarterback one, or if they should trade like a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford. The amount of people who were completely opposed to trading, and at that point, it would have been like a late first-round pick. I think that may have been like the Peyton Turner first-round pick or something like that. The amount of people that were just completely opposed to trading for Matthew Stafford, signing Jameis, it just goes back to that. Again, he's the absolutely most polarizing person on the team. Like, there's just this section that just will cape for him, like no matter what. But I do think part of that, and not all of it, but I think part of it is just it's the Gulf Coast, and everyone wants like a black quarterback to succeed, especially like for the Saints, right? Like that's who wouldn't want that. So I think that goes into it, and it's just like y'all really wouldn't trade like a low first round pick for Matt Stafford like that. Like you could go back and listen to the episode, and like people in our mentions were like, no, we don't want Matt Stafford. Like he's a bum. Like we gonna sign Jameis. I was like, have y'all watched football? What are we doing? It was a wild time. It was a wild time.
Yeah. Look, I think that pros and cons to it. I want Jameis to succeed. And I say this all the time because I'm a Saints fan. I don't care who the quarterback is, right? I mean, I'm a Saints fan. I don't care who you put out there. You can put the most mediocre quarterback you can find, but I'm still going to be rooting for him. But I do think that people need to put things into perspective. This is a guy who, didn't lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the playoffs. He had some ups and downs, and you can come up with any type of theory you want to. He still has to go out there and he has to prove it. I think that he can, but I understand why people can be skeptical how do you feel about him? I mean, it's like it's not like he won 7 Super Bowls or something like that. I mean, the last time he started on a team other than the Saints, he didn't play very well. But I mean, I do once again go back to my statement: organizations matter. But when it comes to Matthew Stafford, I mean, Matthew Stafford to me is very underrated. And I always when he was on the trading block, I was definitely one of those people that's like, man, like if the Saints can nab him, that'll be a good thing. I always just felt like he was a really good quarterback. He was just in a really bad circumstance. I mean, Detroit, that is football purgatory at its best right there. I mean, seriously, I'm happy for him to be able to get up out of there and really show the world what he can actually do and actually win a Super Bowl in the process. Somebody said prime Le'Veon Bell over Alvin Kamara. What do y'all think about that? Is that worth the conversation or not?
No,
you don't think so?
It's not.
No, it's not worth the conversation.
I've seen I'll say this. What game was this? This was 2017, I believe it was, because this was before the NFC Championship game in 18. So this was the game that the Saints played the Rams in LA at the Coliseum. On the field, it was Drew Brees. So this was like, I don't know if you remember, he busted like a 60-yard touchdown against the Rams.
I remember
Coleman that. had a key block on the edge to spring him. So on that field, it was Drew Brees, AK, Aaron Donald. This may have been before Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, it was before Jalen Ramsey was on the Rams. And the best player, and I saw this with my own eyes, I'll never forget it. The best player on the entire field that day was Alvin Kamara. Like, they could not stop him. The Rams defense had nothing for AK at all. He's one of, I think people throw the word generational around too much in terms of adjectives to describing sports figures sometimes. I truly, and this is not me being a homer, this is just being an astute football fan. I truly believe he's a generational running back talent.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think he gets the recognition that he really deserves. I think people know how good he is, as far as like some of the things that he can do. But I just think that because the Saints are the Saints, and I don't think that the Saints are really favored by the mainstream media, I think that they kind of limit him. I look at him and I have an appreciation for this guy. I mean, he went to the same high school as me, Marshall Faulk. Like, he reminds me a lot of Marshall Faulk. And I remember when Sean Payton said that, he said it was almost like me watching Marshall when I was coaching at San Diego State. And some people are probably like, man, that's crazy. But his decision making and how he makes like plays look like he's not even trying hard. Like, guys hit him and they just like putting everything they have into trying to pick him down to the ground, and he just like moves them out of the way. And it's almost like watching somebody do a Rubik's Cube or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just connecting the colors together. He's that. I mean, he's that type of talent. But Ryan, what do you think about Alvin Kamara and Le'Veon Bell?
No, I mean,
what do you think?
To me, he's a genius. He's just one of those type of players that are just football savants. I think they see the world differently than we do. Like, everything's in slow motion. And that's why, last year, there was a lot of grumbling on Saints Twitter about, he looks like he's not invested, or, he looks just not into it. But I think, Sean Payton talked about it. Disinterested. And Sean Payton talked about, Alvin Kamara for a long time, saying he could get bored. You got to challenge Kamara, and I hope they do this year, because I think they tried to make him just a between the tackles running back last year because we needed it. And he did it. He did it. He did fine. But, man, get Kamara lined up on a linebacker, get him lined up on a safety, and let him do his thing, man. Like, let him flourish, bro. And it looks like that's what they're trying to do this year with, they're trying to, Jameis even talked about he needs to get that connection with Kamara better. So we need to see that again, bro. Like, I don't need to see 3 yards in the cloud of dust with Kamara, bro. Like I don't need that, man. Like get this man out there in space, cause ain't no linebacker dealing with him, bro. I don't care who it is. Like ain't no linebacker ready for that. They ain't want that smoke, man. Like I want to see Alvin Kamara go off.
Yeah, just in terms of the weapons that they have, right? The Saints could line up Alvin in the slot, or even like a bunch formation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have Alvin in the slot position. You have Chris Olave, and let's even hypothetically say Mike Thomas isn't playing, and you have Jarvis Landry all in that bunch formation, and then you could just throw whatever Slappy at running back to just give the impression that you can still run the ball. That bunch would give defenses fits, just figuring out how to cover it. Just fits. Obviously, it depends on accuracy from Jameis and the offensive line protecting. But Ryan hit it on the head in that his first 2 seasons when he got lined up in the slot or he was running these choice angle routes out the backfield, you just go back to the NFC Championship game of 2018, man. Corey Little, he was smoking Corey Littleton all game to the point that in the second half, Wade Phillips, the DC of the Rams, had to make the adjustment that the defensive end was chipping AK when he went to his route to slow him up, so he didn't come off the line unperturbed. He is that special, and they have to figure out a way to get him more in space. But this dive, run, halfback power, like we gotta get away from that because we're wasting his talent with him doing it.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have anybody else. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, it was the AK show, and
I get it. I get it.
Now adding on like other wide receivers, because think about this. You mentioned 2018. It was the Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara show every single week. Like, the ball was going around to Alvin or Mike. Imagine now. Teams don't know how to dial in. They can honestly go back to the year where they were like the greatest show on turf when they had Sproles and they had Graham and they had Colston. Like you ain't know who was gonna get the ball. And teams were like so discombobulated. I think they can go back to that. And to me, like looking at Alvin Kamara, he probably the best receiving running back in the National Football League. You think about like some of the things that he can do. So. I mean, I think that he's going to go and revert back to some of the things that made him special and what we can appreciate as Saints fans. But I got a question from another listener of the show, Hoodie Jew. But first, I have to acknowledge Manscaped.com, the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. Father's Day is just around the corner, and Manscaped.com right now is promoting their premium package. So you still have a few days. They do have express delivery. So you can get your father, your boyfriend, your husband, something special for the holidays. All right. Go to manscaped.com, use the promo code State of Saints, save 20% off your purchase. Let's get back to it. And we're going to read this question and then we'll get your thoughts on CD Deuce comments. Hoodie Jew, thank you very much for the $9.99. Says, TJ, this question is for you and the Saints Twitter podcast. Would y'all add a player like Sue at defensive tackle and Jason Pierre-Paul at DN since Davenport and Turner are coming back from injury? Also, your thoughts on DJ, the running back. I guess he's talking about David Johnson. So, Ryan, I'll start with you with this one. Ndamukong Suh with the Saints, JPP, and David Johnson had his trial on the first day of minicamp. Your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Yes. Like simple, yes. I bring in JPP. You don't know what you're gonna get from Peyton Turner. He's been a disappointment so far. Davenport. Look, I mean, it is what it is, man. The dude injured a lot. When he's on the field and healthy, he's an impact player, but he's injured a lot, bro. Like I don't know what to say. Like I don't know how to evaluate that.
They say hell when he
with,
well, but he's sick all the time, right?
exactly. And look, Sue, if Sue could give you 30 or 40 quality defensive snaps a game, that's great. So he's definitely worth bringing in. So no, and David Johnson, we'll see, bro. He's just coming in for a tryout. His great days are
Right.
gone. But just watching him on some of the clips I've seen, he looks healthy. He's moving well. I thought in some of the clips he moved better than Mark Ingram. He's a savvy running back. He's smart. He can catch. He can run between the tackles. So I think he gives you more than Freeman gave you last year when they brought him in. And Freeman went on to have a solid season with the Ravens.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Ravens,
that.
right? Yeah. So I think that's somebody.
Yeah, he went to the Ravens. Him and Latavius. Yep.
Exactly. So I think that's somebody they should kind of hang on to, especially consider with with Alvin Kamara's whole legal situation, which I think we might not see him get suspended this year, and if he does, it'll probably be like later in the year when we really need him. So I think they should really just try to keep David Johnson in the building.
Yeah. Adam, what about you? Some of the guys he named, Ndamukong Suh, JPP, David Johnson having the trial. Your thoughts on that, man?
I'd say for Sue, Sue makes a lot of sense because if we're talking about the defensive tackle is probably the thinnest position they have. They have David Onyemata, and then after that, I know they signed Contavious Street. I know they signed Jaleel Johnson. But until we see it, they're just guys. And there's Shot Tuttle, there's Malcolm Roach. It's a thin position. So if you could get Sue on a decent deal, like Ryan said, and he's giving you 30 to 40 snaps a game of good Sue play, that would even elevate the defense even more so than where it already is. JPP, I'm not sure. I would probably do it. I don't think the Saints would because, and let's be honest about it, this defense in terms of being good to great or even elite completely hinges on, honestly, to me, the keys are Marcus Davenport and Peyton Turner.
Right.
If Peyton Turner develops and he's healthy and he plays well like he did in that first game against Carolina, and then Marcus Davenport can give you what healthy Marcus Davenport can give you. You have Tano, you still have Cam Jordan. Those two players to me are the whole key of the defense being truly elite that can go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
David Johnson, I think, like Ryan said, it's a tryout. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets signed after the tryout, after tomorrow's the last day of minicamp. I just think right now, in terms of depth behind AK, the backup running back position is still in flux. I don't think the team is completely sold on Tony Jones Jr. I don't think the team is sold on Mark Ingram. We have Auburn Smith, but he's just a rookie. So I think that's a position that they're still trying to look to find a good complement to AK. And it could be David Johnson. I think David Johnson and AK in terms of playing style is a little bit contradictory. But from like Ryan said, limited clips I've seen, and he's moving well. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they signed him to a vet minimum contract after the minicamp tryout.
Yeah. I mean, David Johnson, if you look at his injury history, it wasn't to his lower extremities, it was to his wrist.
Yeah.
He missed that season. He had a dislocated wrist. He missed the entire season. He got put on IR when he had a setback. So, he's 30 years old, but, he always shared a backfield with someone. And, like I said, no real injuries to his lower extremities. So he still has that capability of running between the tackles, catching the ball out of backfield. Just if it just so happens that Roger Goodell and the NFL do what they like to do to the New Orleans Saints, which is screw them around, and they need somebody to come in to help. I definitely agree with you when it comes to Mark Ingram. I don't care how many interviews he does as far as he's talking about he always share the backfield with somebody. Look, man, I mean, everybody has a shelf life. If you combine all those carries he had at Alabama and, you know what I'm saying, and being in the league as long as he is going into his 12th year, you're not going to be able to carry the load every single time. I mean, even in Baltimore, I mean, he kind of wore down even though he had that special season where he had 14 touchdowns. So you need somebody that's going to go alongside him and help him. And I think David Johnson can be a guy just in case something happens with Alvin Kamara. Ronald, thank you very much for the 199. Says Thomas, Sproles, or AK in pass catching. I like both of those guys, Thomas and Sproles, but I'm gonna go with AK. What do you guys think? AK, Sproles, Thomas. Which one are you going with as far as pass catch? Ryan, I'll start with you.
I mean, Thomas, man, like seriously. Pierre Thomas or Michael Thomas? What are you talking about?
He's talking about Pierre Thomas. I guess he's talking about like pass catch, the best pass catching running back to see.
Oh, I go with AK, man. Like AK can run wide receiver runs. There ain't no disrespect on Sproles. Sproles was a dog.
Yes, sir.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite players to watch ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But like literally, like if Alvin Kamara wanted to be a slot wide receiver, he could have.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I
he literally could have.
I agree. Adam, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's AK. It's weird to say I think it's AK, but it's not even close. And like that's not which just tells you how great of a player he is, right? Like
yeah. Look, I look at the running backs. Like you said, all of them were really good. Like Pierre Thomas, to me, one of the best screen running backs I've ever seen. Man, you get that boy that ball in the screen game, he can make something happen.
All-time favorite.
Darren Sproles, man. I'll tell you a little story, and then we'll go to the Seedy Deuce clip. Big 12 championship, Kansas State versus Oklahoma, when he single-handedly beat the Oklahoma Sooners in that Big 12 championship. I was always a fan of Darren Sproles before he even hit the league. He had over 200-plus yards of total offense in that game, carried the Kansas State Wildcats. So I've always loved that brother. But we're going to go ahead and move on. Final topic of the show, Seedy Deuce's comments. We all know that Seedy Deuce is one of the most passionate New Orleans Saints players we've seen, one of the most realest guys that you're ever going to meet. He spoke very candidly about some of the things that the New Orleans Saints endured. One topic was the lack of acknowledgement of how good the New Orleans Saints team is. Here's a little bit of what he said.
No disrespect to him, just to answer your question. You know what I'm saying? Like, just tired of having that burden on our shoulder of what you guys can and can't do. Focus on what we can do. Uplift us. Like,
what can y'all do?
Man, you see it. We got the best defense in the league. The only team that pitched a shutout on Tom Brady in the past, 10 years? Come on, man. People are dialed in his locker room. People are dialed in. And no disrespect to Tom, he's a great player. Y'all know that. He's a great player, phenomenal player. But when a lot of that get overlooked, the defense get overlooked because who we playing, y'all know that. The defense versus Tom Brady. We're not the Saints. Okay.
Seedy Deuce, man, being as real as you can be, sitting there with a great value towel, look like he got from Walmart, but nevertheless, he was being real. I urge everybody to check out the interview that man. It's available. State of the Saints podcast, Facebook page, as well as on YouTube and other New Orleans Saints outlets. But your thoughts on the Saints not being appreciated, no matter what these guys have done over the last 2 seasons, still not getting the acknowledgement for being a good defense, not really being getting the credit for beating up on Tom Brady more times than not. What are your thoughts on that, man? The lack of appreciation of this team and how they have been one of the best teams over the last 5 years. Ryan, I'll start with you with this one.
I mean, that just comes with the territory, man. It's a small market team. I talk about it all the time. Like, I remember when Saints just didn't get mentioned, period. Like I remember used to watch ESPN and just Saints to play a primetime game and they won't even mention them. You know what I'm saying? When it's a primetime game. Don't even mention on CNN. I mean on ESPN, man. It's just like it was tough, bro. Like youngsters don't know, man. Like it was hard out here, bro. All we had was Times Picayune. You know what I'm saying? So it's just part for the course, man. It's a small market team. They're not on the miles of everybody. The defense was terrific last couple of years. They were outstanding last year. What they had to deal with. And I think that's what's bleeding out of CD Deuce. Like, bro, I mean, they beat Tom Brady. What was that game? 9-0 or something like that. Like, they had to defend every blade of grass at times, man. So that's what's bleeding out of him. He's like, man, look, we great. I don't care what the stats say. We are a great defense. The National League not gonna look at that. So I appreciate it, man. And the thing I love the most is, some people be scared, like, oh, he's talking about Tom Brady. That's bulletin board material and stuff like that. They don't care. Like, Saints defense don't care, bro. Like, they don't care about bulletin board material, none of that shit. They gonna line up and strap up and play, bro. Like, you got to play football. So that's what I love about them. They don't care about none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? They just ready to play. Because at the end of the day, you got to execute, and they are disruptive. And we've seen what they did to Tom Brady. Now, going forward, who knows what can happen? Tom Brady could sweep the Saints this year. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, things happen. But I love the confidence. Love CD Deuce, bro. That's my dude, man. I just love a dude like that just, he backs it up. He backs it up with the play on the field. He talk his shit. I love it, man.
He is
Adam, your thoughts on that?
He's an absolute dog. One of my favorite Saints that they've drafted in an extremely long time. I hope they're able to keep him in terms of contract extensions. But in terms of what he said, part of me got the athlete speak from it. And I say that in terms of, I'm like, man, like, where is he like getting this from? Like, if you listen to like Ryan mentioned around the NFL podcast, around the NFL podcast, Greg Rosenthal consistently have the Saints as top 3, top 5 defense in the league. Mina Kimes of ESPN just dropped, I think it was this week or last week, her top 5 defenses. The Saints were in her top 5. I'm like, so I think that's that athlete of just always needing that edge. But I think Ryan hit on the set and he said this. A lot of that was last year's frustration just kind of coming out, right? Because as a defense, what they have to deal with? They had to deal with Jameis, Taysom, Trevor Siemian. As a defense, and he didn't say it, but he also Ian Book, right? He also did. They dealt with COVID completely wiping out the team. He didn't say it, but like this is the same defense that went against last year's wide receivers in practice. So he knew, like he was like, so like they knew if as a defense they didn't play either perfect or close to perfect, they were not going to win games. Period. So I think part of that's kind of like, man, like we kind of maybe have an offense now, so like maybe we can like. We can still do our thing, but like maybe if we don't have like an outwardly game on defense, we can still get the win. As a defensive player, that takes like the weight off a little bit, but the confidence shows that they're not relying on that. They still want to be an elite defense. And let's just take a step back as Saints fans and just the maturation this defense has had over the years, man. We've come through some dark times. Like, want to talk about the League of Shadows, right?
Hey,
Brandon,
my grandfather.
Go ahead, man.
My grandfather is a preacher, and he talks about when Jesus was on the cross, and he's talking about how dark it got there. He said so dark you can feel it with your hands. Man, it was some dark time. It's some dark
Jason
times, man.
David, Corey White, Sterling Moore, who's now on the coaching staff, man. Like, remember the twins? The twins.
Man, go back, Fred Thomas, man. My goodness.
Fred Thomas, B.W. Webb. Like, I can go on.
Jason David, man.
Jason David.
Man, Lord.
But for them, so I said all that to say, for us as fans, we just got to be thankful and just happy, man, because like we've been through some shit. Like every time there's a historically bad defense in the NFL and like they're just real bad each season, like Ryan always just bringing up like shitty 2014-15 Saints defenses. Like those defenses were garbage.
Like y'all don't understand. Like people talk about bad defenses. No, like y'all didn't go through the darkness we went through.
No,
we had historically bad defense. Historically.
Hey, I know. I definitely know, man. Ooh, them boys couldn't stop traffic with a stop sign back in them days.
Couldn't, man. Goodness. So the defense is now the identity of the team. And I also think that you get a player like Tyrann Mathieu coming in. This is me not, throwing shots at Marcus Williams, because I do think, he'll be missed. I think they should have resigned him. That's a different conversation. But you get someone like that coming in the locker room, and like he's a dog, and you got CeeDee's a dog, DeMario's a dog. Like you got dogs all over the field, right? For the most part, you got dogs all over the field, and you got Pete Warner out there. Pete just seemed out of place, bro. Just like don't he? Like he just no shot at
bring that lunch bell, baby.
Clock in, clock out. But like the maturation of this defense has been tremendous. A lot of that goes to Jeff Ireland, him drafting so many good players in the secondary that have hit. Like most of the players he's drafting in the secondary have worked out. Even players that's not with the team anymore. Von Bell, Marcus Williams. The track record's pretty immaculate. And I think right now, and in terms of talent, this is a top talented Saints team that there's been, like easily. It's in the top 4, top 5 conversation in terms of just overall talent. So now, like, I think CeeDee, he's just ready to strap up and just go to work, man. Like the defense is ready. If they had to play week 1 tomorrow, the defense will be ready. Like, no doubt.
Yeah. I think this defense, the emergence, the advent of the defense came at the best time. I mean, Drew Brees retiring. Like, can you imagine, like, if the Saints had what they had and didn't have no defense at all, like, some of those times where they were in 2015, like, we probably would have been picking in the top 5. So
we were picking number 1,
that
bro.
It came at the right, man, for real. Like, we was probably gonna be getting one of these top these top 3 picks, but I'm just glad, man. I understand his frustration, but I also don't understand, like, how can you look at this team? And I use this example, fellas, on the show. I said it's like you playing a game of 21, a hustle if you're from New Orleans. And you play 5 games with somebody, you beat them 4, and they beat you 1. And let's just say, for example, somebody came out there and said, man, look, this snowball on the line. You know what I'm saying? I got this snowball, and whoever wins, get it. In the 5th game, you get the snowball. Like, I beat you 4 times. Like regardless of what's on the line, I feel like the New Orleans Saints are still better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And for some apparent reason, nobody's paying attention to it. And maybe it's just because they have to admit that the Saints have Tom Brady's number, and they elevate Tom Brady, as the greatest quarterback of all time. He can beat anybody, any day, anywhere. So it's like, by saying that the Saints have his number, is like taking a shot at his legacy. But, man, numbers don't lie. And I don't care what happened. Like, if you look at it from a team standpoint, the Saints are better. And I just think that, like you said, it just came out in that interview with CeeDee Deuce. And now he's starting to emerge. I mean, what he's third or fourth season, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's like one of the leaders of the team. Last year, he was in a circle, you know what I'm saying? Like leading, you know what I'm saying, and the chant and everything like that. So the Saints would be insane. Like based on this dude's personality, based on how much people love this dude as far as Saints fans, I don't think it's been a while since I've seen a player embodies what New Orleans is all about. Like seriously, this dude embodies what the city is all about. Like y'all know what it is, man. Y'all from the city. Look, we are a city, man. We don't care where you from. We don't care where you from. We don't care how much money you got.
Said.
Bro, look, if you fuzz, you fuzz. If you against us, you're against us. And he embodies that like to a T. And just on that alone, and I said this, and I leave it at this. Dennis Allen stood at his opening press conference as the head coach, and he said he wanted tough, physical football players that embodies his personality. It don't get more tough, passionate, and physical than this dude right here. You gotta pay this dude because I mean people laughed at this dude for crying in a wild card game his rookie season when they lost. When he sat there in the end zone. That's passion, dude. And if you ain't got that, bro, you might well just go play for Detroit. Straight up. I'll just get y'all final thoughts, man. Your final thoughts. Minicamp last day is tomorrow. Got a lot of key players. What are you all looking for going into training camp and the preseason? What are storylines that are standing out to you all, and what do you look forward to seeing going into week one? Adam, I'll start with you with this final question.
I mean, to me, it's about the big question for me is about health, honestly. Like I kind of already hit on it. We talking about Marcus Davenport and Peyton Turner, but like it's a weird thing to say, but the defense, we spend a lot of time just really talking about the defense. Them being elite rests on the health of those two players, in my honest opinion. So like I want to, like when training camp rolls around in a month, I want to see is Marcus Davenport out there, is Peyton Turner out there. I do think there's going to be a fascinating battle at cornerback with Alontae Taylor and Bradley Roby. I think a lot of people maybe assume that, this kind of be like a red shirt year for Alontae Taylor. He'll be on special teams. I think he has the potential, depending on how training camp goes, that he might be in the mix to either be on the field in some type of way, in some type of variety of packages. Like the team seems to be really high on him. Going back to health, Jameis, how's the ACL healing, things like that. And I think we talked about it earlier in the show, but like, who's going to be the dude behind AK? Who's going to be that guy? Because he needs someone. And so is that guy on the team right now? Might not be. It might be a situation where they might not pick up the running back two until cuts happen. But I'd say the last thing I'll say is that offensively the team seems pretty set right now. I do think they're not going to rush Trevor Penning into the starting role. I think Hurst is probably going to be out there week one. Something that I would love to see in training camp is competition at right guard. Can we get competition at right guard? Why is Cesar Ruiz's spot guaranteed? Why is he not competing with? He's not even signed yet. But you can't tell me with a straight face that if you had Senio Calamente starting at right guard, that he would not play better than Cesar Ruiz week one. So
also Landon Young, Adam. Landon Young played pretty well in that game that he played the Carolina Panthers.
Throckmorton, like someone. So it goes back. We talked about the vision, and the Saints have shown that they saw the vision at wide receiver, and they drafted Chris Olave. They got Jarvis Landry. Where's the vision at right guard? Because you have all these fancy toys to play with, but if the engine's broke, you're not moving nowhere. So that's what I want to see. Do they see the issue with Cesar Ruiz, or is it just going to be, as Ryan likes to refer to a lot, is just sunken fallacy costs? We invested a first round pick in this player, you don't kind of see it through, blah blah. That's what I'm looking for training camp.
Yeah. I agree, but what about the addition of Doug Marrone? You think that's going to help Cesar Ruiz's development? And also, do you take into account?
No. I know some of football and some of like players is like coaching and blah blah. He's not good, man. Like he is one of the worst starting offensive linemen in football, and I say that without hyperbole. That's my true honest opinion. I think he's that bad. Don't think
you don't get no arguments here, man.
I think Doug Marrone and Trevor Penning is more in his development is far more essential than Cesar Ruiz, in my honest opinion. Sorry, I cut you off on your second half.
Look, man. Hey, look. I think you preaching to a choir when it comes to like your stats on Cesar Ruiz. I mean, I'm just trying to. I don't know. I'm just trying to get this man a way out. But hey, I haven't seen anything.
No mulligans given, bro. You going into what year 3?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I can't even argue with it. I mean, he'd rather put up a shut up time, and I said that you need to have somebody that can come in, give him a little bit of competition. But Ryan, you're same question for you, man. What are you expecting going to training camp, and what do you expect the Saints and maybe a player that you're looking at to do leading into week 1 of the regular season?
Man, I think the tight end crawl is really important for the Saints. I want to, it's just been mini camp talk about him, OTAs or whatever. He was a productive tight end for Kenny Pickett at Pitt. So I want to see if they could develop this guy. I'm not saying he's going to come out and be, an 800-yard tight end, but if he could just be a guy that could, beat up some of those soft zones, can get down on the seam sometimes, be a red zone threat, that would be huge, man, because tight end is a huge hole for this team. Yeah. I don't believe in Adam Troutman. I think Adam Troutman could probably be a player in this league for a long time, but I'm not sure he could be what we want him to be. You know what I'm saying? Like Adam said, Ruiz, I'm really looking at him, bro. I want to see. If I feel like, man, Doug Marrone gonna be like, man, I can't do this. I need somebody. I think that's why they're looking at Clemente.
Hey, coach. I want winners.
Exactly, bro.
I want winners. Can't win with them.
I want players that want to win. Mike Singletary, yeah, man, legend on the field, legend behind the mic.
Sorry, man. Like I gotta see somebody else there, man. Like Adam said, hey, I want to see Mike Thomas, bro. Like, bro, when I see Mike Thomas run a slant, I know they call him slant boy, joking about him and all that. But when I see Mike Thomas run a slant, I might cry, bro. I'm gonna cry, dog. Just one slant, bro. Like I was gonna be like, I'm gonna cry, man. He even gotta be a good slant. Just work, man. Like seriously, bro. It's been so long, bro. That's all I'm looking for, man.
Hey, man. I think a lot of people go shed a tear. Hey, and it's crazy you said this, man. A couple weeks ago, we had a listener of the show. He called in, chimed in. He said the same thing. He said, man, Michael Thomas, he said, if he come back, man, I might shed a tear myself. But, I mean, look, man, the dude is a special player when he's out there. I think that you're going to probably see more weapons in his arsenal. I do think that he got that label of slant boy because of Drew Brees, inability to consistently throw the ball down the field. Because look at his rookie season, man. He wasn't just running slants out there. I mean, he was running some passes, beyond 20 yards. So I
Look,
think that you could see something different. Yeah.
But look, here's the thing. Them slants work. Like them
Right.
slants was working. He was
Right.
getting first
Don't fix it,
downs.
bro.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like run them. I don't
Hey,
care. Like run them
look,
slants. Run them things is working.
I do not care either. I don't care either. I say this, like, people can talk about it all you want to, but the main reason why people get mad at that is because it's working. If he was running slants and it didn't work, then all of a sudden, oh man, he sucked. But I give credit to individuals that can run those slants, because think about this: a cornerback can jam you for 5 yards, right? So if you're getting off the line of scrimmage, you know what I'm saying, you were able to get the ball before you even hit 5 yards, and you got this cornerback all on top of you, and you catch the ball, and you're still getting it, and also you're getting yards after the catch. I don't think people are paying that much attention to it, because I guess because of the Patrick Mahomes and because of the Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball off their back foot 60 yards and the big splash plays, people feel like if you don't have that going for you, then you shouldn't even be in a conversation. Once, like y'all said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Just go back and watch last year's offense and see how
hard
hard it was.
Nope.
See how hard it was to move the ball. I mean, I know we had some big plays, but just watch how hard it was just to move the ball to get the meat and potatoes yards. Like it was hard, man. Like I missed those slants. They missed them slants.
Man, you ain't lying.
I'll give a bonus little tease for our episode tomorrow that Ryan and I are recording on the hashtag Saints Twitter podcast. But I'll say this about training camp and about Deontay Hardy is
right.
We're gonna be on the team, bro.
Whoa, that's a hot take right there. Because that's a hot take, man. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that for y'all. I'm not gonna even go into detail. I'm gonna leave that for y'all, because I got questions, but I don't want to give it away here. So I'm gonna listen to what y'all have to say on that. But fellas, thank y'all so much, man. Ryan and Adam of the Saints Twitter podcast that's available. Thank y'all so much, being very candid with your time, man. And we appreciate everything that you all are doing. Once again, you all are the pulse of Saints Twitter, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all move the needle over there, and we really appreciate everything that you all are doing. Man, the watchers and listeners of this show really excited, when I told them that you all were going to be on the show. So thank you all. And before y'all get up out of here, I just want to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, and how they can listen to the podcast.
So they can listen to podcasts on any available platform, Spotify, Apple. We're also our podcast gets put up on whodatdish.com. You can follow me on Twitter. My name's Adam West. You can follow me on Twitter. My account is at I don't even know what my account is anymore. Ask me to stay 323. We also you can follow us on Instagram. It's Saints Twitter Pod. We have an email address if you want to reach out to us that way, saintstwitterpod@gmail.com. We're doing a lot of big things upcoming for the podcast, especially for upcoming football season. We're going to start doing live streams of Zoom live streams during preseason and games for all our Patreon members. So it's going to be like a big open chat as we're all watching the games. We're raffling off game tickets this upcoming season. We're doing a lot of big things for the podcast that we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, man, and they can get at me at that boy Wolf, DATBOY Wolf. Saints Twitter, SaintsTwitterPod.com. You can go and get all your links there. All the episodes are there. We got a YouTube channel, Saints Twitter Pod. We don't have many videos up, but I would go and just subscribe because we're going to be doing some things over there. We do have a Patreon, and you can look up Saints Twitter Podcast. So we got a lot going on, man. So we still building this thing right now. It's just been straight podcast. Right now it's the off season. We're doing one episode a week. But come regular season, we usually do about 2 or 3 episodes a week. Sometimes we do some off kilter podcasts where we might talk to astrophysicist. We might talk to a therapist, mental health therapist. Might talk to, just all kind of topics during the off
Right.
season.
Yeah.
Just with people that topics we find interesting. We had Patrick Claiborne of NFL Network. He came on a couple years ago when all the things was going on with George Floyd. Was talking about social issues. So, it's a good podcast to follow. We talk a lot about football, but sometimes we dig into some other topics, man. So, just we love for y'all to just give us a follow and subscribe and just check us out, see what you think.
Yeah, definitely check them out, man. The Saints Twitter podcast. Follow those brothers. Man, they work really hard to give solid content. And I appreciate everything that you all are doing. And as far as like you talk about like some of the topics that's definitely, as an African American, I'm saying, some of the things that we deal with when it comes to community, togetherness, I'm saying, y'all's touching that as well. It's extremely important. And that reason alone, that's another reason why you all should check out the Saints Twitter podcast. Adam and Ryan, thank you all so much. And thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search the State of the Saints podcast. Also available on Facebook, facebook.com, search the State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?